Always separate material and labor. Now, I understand what's happening in the conditions today. You ask a contractor you want to have over to your house to do some work, say, you just gave me a quote of 10 grand. Can you separate material and labor? They might tell you to pound sand because they have more leads than they know what to do with. That does not mean you shouldn't ask. Why? Well, this gives you more things to evaluate, to think through, and to negotiate. It holds them more accountable.
Put that coffee down.
I'm not here to waste your time, okay? I certainly hope you're not here to waste mine. So I'm gonna keep this short.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
The most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Coffee's for closers only.
Well, hello there, friends. Welcome back to the Behind Your Back podcast with me, Bradley Hartman. On the show, we're going to help you sell more, faster, at higher margins, and have more fun doing it. Like to thank our sponsor, Capital One Trade Credit. If you, my friend, are interested in selling more, increasing cash flow while decreasing risk, you should check out Capital One Trade Credit. They've built this incredible digital platform that makes it so easy for your customers to buy from you. Check out Capital One Trade Credit. So this is episode 2 in our little mini series that we are doing this week and next as we prepare to launch our OSR Outside Sales Rep Academy. The last episode we shared one of the fundamental frameworks that we are going to teach folks who are in the program that we use consistently with all our clients. And we call this the sales stack. And the sales stack, much like a tech stack that the IT nerds on your business use to understand how everything works together to make sure you can scale your business, the sales stack makes it very clear on how we can scale our sales performance. Then there's 4 elements to it. It's the sales process, sales activities, sales skills, and sales tools. So we talked about that in the last episode, and we have a free download. You can go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools, and you can download that for yourself. It's a free template. We gave you some ideas of things that we put in for a very generic 5-step sales process. That is research, discovery, presenting options, negotiating, and close. So if you do not have a sales process, hey, start there. I'm already giving you this template. If you do not have this framework in mind of a sales stack, starting with your sales process, this is where high performance in sales starts. We also, at behindyourbacksales.com/tools, we also have our OSR Academy slide deck where we talk about the content, we talk about the curriculum, we talk about our mission, we talk about all the commitments that we are making to make sure this is great and returns a positive ROI. It also includes who is helping us out as our board of advisors. Some very esteemed names. Why? It's a big initiative. It's 15 months. It's online and off. And our commitment is by the time you get done, we will already have generated more gross profit dollars to pay for the entire thing. How much does it cost? It's $1,500 a month for 15 months. So we have folks like Bill Lee, Mike McDole, Thea Dudley, Aaron Plummer of Hancock Lumber, David Fields of Southwest Molding, and of course, Mr. Nick Kukin, who was the driving force to push me and our collaboration to create this OSR Academy to be more proactive in developing salespeople who will be ready to go in the next year or so. We received some good feedback on the program in general and our last podcast. And also, we have videos for every one of these as well. So you can find those at YouTube. The questions or comments were generally around how do we really drive accountability, which is at the top of our mind? How do we make sure it's 100% applicable? And how do we make sure that this program, this OSR Academy, pushes people to work harder and allows them to progress further in their careers while acknowledging these are full-time professionals right now. They've got a day job. So what's that balance? How much are we expecting of them after work or in addition to the work they're already doing? And those are 100% relevant. So we will continue to answer those, and those are also in the slide deck. So even if right now you say, listen, this OSR Academy isn't for me, what I'd ask you to do is go download the slide deck and take a look at the curriculum. See what we're going over and look to poke holes in it. We want to know. And if you think you've already have a stellar program, or maybe you think your sales managers are out there and they're doing all of this coaching already and you don't need it, great. Take a look and see if you think we're doing anything extraneous that we don't need to do or things that we're missing. I'd love to hear your feedback. So in today's episode, what we are going to talk about is a passion of mine. I'm finishing up a short book that will be part of the Professional Sales Field Manual series. It's going to be less than 90 pages, and it's really narrowing down and focusing on the fundamental negotiation principles that I see lacking so much in our industry on this side of the desk. Now, when I was an area purchasing manager working at Pulte Homes and builders, they are constantly, and I'm generalizing, many of them, the best ones, are constantly investing in negotiations because that is where they can earn additional dollars. Even now, when all the leverage is on the supply side, there are ways to negotiate. So in today's episode, I'm going to introduce 2.5 ways that you can negotiate better, not only in your professional life, but more importantly, in your personal life. Because I firmly believe if you are not focusing on being a good negotiator in your personal life, it's really hard to flip that switch and say, oh, I'm in negotiation right now. What are my mental models and what are the principles and what is my framework for thinking about an effective negotiation? It's really hard to do if you're not doing it in your personal life. And if you find that you can save money in your personal life, all of a sudden it gets so much more easier and you'll be more interested to use these principles when you are on the job. Okay, so the 2.5 methods to save money in your personal life. What are they? Well, number one, if you have any sort of project around the house that you are doing that involves a contractor, do what I do. I was trained to do it at Pulte the first day I showed up on the job. The number one rule is always separate material and labor. Always separate material and labor. Now, I understand what's happening in the conditions today. You ask a contractor you want to have over to your house to do some work, say, hey, you just gave me a quote of 10 grand. Can you separate material and labor? They might tell you to pound sand because they have more leads than they know what to do with. That does not mean you shouldn't ask. Why? Well, this gives you more things to evaluate, to think through, and to negotiate. It holds them more accountable. For example, we recently did something small around the house. It involved a contractor. I said, hey, you mind separating material and labor? He said, well, we normally don't do that. I'm like, well, doesn't sound like a no to me. And I said, well, could you make an exception here? And this was a sole proprietorship. This was the guy. He was the decision maker. And he said, I guess so. He just sent me over his Excel document that broke down, including his margin, all the hours that he was planning, and basically the math on how he came up with this number. And I looked at it and I said, hey, I see you got about 30 hours for this. What happens if it's under? He said, well, tell you what, every day I'm here, I'll let you know. And if it's less, I'll knock it off. Well, his hourly rate was $75 an hour, and we end up saving about $225. So there are ways to negotiate, but starting off, always separate material and labor. Do not be afraid to ask. Now, because you are a professional in our industry, you probably already knew that. So that was the 0.5. So the other two ways that have been extremely effective are, the first one is the 3-question script. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, but it's been about 100 or so episodes. So I wanted to refresh it there. And the second one is called the Ackerman method. So let's take a look at this 3-question script. First, I use this consistently, and I consistently save money while not being annoying. I don't use this when I go to Starbucks, and I don't use it when I go to Dairy Queen, getting a small Oreo Blizzard with the boys after a basketball game. But do I use this when we go to a sporting goods store and have to buy a $400 glove? You're damn right I do. And we save money frequently. Not all the time. I recently bought a pair of sunglasses from Oakley, and I used all these things. And I think the rules at Oakley and the relative unsophistication of the sales rep, I was like 0 for 5. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Just Package them up, I'll buy them. Okay, so here we are. What is this 3-question script? Number 1, is this your best price? I used to ask this all the time at Pulte. I still ask it all the time now. Hey, is this your best price? Easy enough, right? Well, the hard part comes right after you say this, and there is silence. Embrace the silence. Ask the question and shut your mouth. Resist the urge to fill the void with your speech. You'll be surprised to find this 5-word question often results in immediate savings. However, set your expectations low here. Anticipate hearing, yeah, it is. And if you hear that, then you're going to move on to question number 2. Are there any promotions or discounts going on right now that I should be aware of? Again, ask the question and keep your pie hole shut, okay? Let the silence do the work. The person you're asking will more than likely think about how they can help you. Let them ruminate on that for as long as it takes. Again, keep your expectations low and assume they'll say, no, sorry. So again, question 1, is this your best price? Shh, silence. Are there any promotions or discounts going on right now that I should be aware of? And again, if you hear no, then you're going to move on to question number 3. We are trying to save for, and you're going to insert something meaningful here. Is there any other way you could potentially help us save on this investment? You are now conveying that you've got some big dreams and you're hoping to get just a wee bit of help here, all right? So that something meaningful I refer to most often is my son's college education. He's going off to school in 3 years, and it's probably going to be, at that point, I don't know, like $1 million a year to go to some state school. I'm asking for help, and we need all the help we can get. Now, to point out the obvious, you're less likely to pluck the heartstrings, the emotional connections to the purse strings, if your something meaningful is a new weed whacker or a Ferrari SF90 Spider. Not that either one of these are trivial. If you want to buy either one of them, hey, go do what you got to do. But the former is relatively inexpensive, and the latter is ridiculously expensive and dislikable. Nobody likes people who drive Ferraris. Anyway, now the wording here is intentional, so stay on script. The second half of this is important because it's a request for help while identifying the purchase as an investment. This is important. By referring to the purchase at hand as an investment, you are signaling respect for the value. You're not simply sneering at the price. And again, for the last time, I will remind you, ask the question and be quiet. Silence is golden if you let it perform its magic. So that is this 3-question script. Number 1, is this your best price? Number 2, are there any promotions or discounts going on right now that I should be aware of? And number 3, we're trying to save for my son's college education. Is there any way you could potentially help us save on this investment? Now, I use this 3-question framework all the time. Now, other people that I have talked to and recommended this have also reported success. So Mark Swatsworth is the regional manager of Lezer Lumber in Pennsylvania. We had a training with them earlier this year, and he followed up with a very nice email saying, hey, I tried this and it works. Here's what he said. He said, I tried your negotiating tactic while in Florida for a buying show. We decided to play a round of golf at a nearby resort. Their regular rate was $149 per round. And seeing that I was picking up the tab for 2 players, the fee would have been $298. Now, once the employee at the pro shop told me the price of the greens fees, I asked him question 1, is this your best price? And I got a yes. So I moved on to question number 2. Are there any discounts or promotions going on right now that I should be aware of? And the quick answer was no. Now he continued on. He got creative. He said, I mentioned I was staying at a sister resort. And did that qualify me for any additional discounts? The answer then came back, yes. Aha. So there was additional discounts or promotions. They did offer a 20% discount for those guests. Boom, he said, 20% off. Then he said, thinking of question 3, and again, question 3 is, we are trying to save for something meaningful. Is there any other way you could potentially help us save on this investment? He said, I see you have a twilight rate later today. Seeing it looks to be very busy and play will be slow, would you consider giving us the twilight rate early? Boom, he said. Price went from $149 down to $99. So we started at $149, then it went down to $99, and after the additional 20% off, it ended up at $79.20 instead of $149. for a total savings of $139.60 for 2 greens fees. Not bad. Mark, not bad at all. So there are 1.5 ways to save money by negotiating better in your personal life. Number 1, always separate material and labor. Actually, that's 0.5. And then number 1 is the 3-question script. Is this your best price? Be quiet. Are there any promotions or discounts going on right now that I should be aware of? That's number 2. Number 3, we're trying to save for something meaningful. Is there any other way that you could potentially help us save on this investment? Now, I know this is a lot to absorb here. That is why we have this template. It's freely downloadable. It's a script. It'll walk you through both of these and this third one I'm going to talk about briefly, the Ackerman method. So go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools and download this PDF and start using it today. So the Ackerman method. What is the Ackerman method and who is this Ackerman? Well, the Ackerman method is a simple bargaining schedule that anchors a high but reasonable opening offer and maps out your subsequent concessions. Now, Mike Ackerman was a security officer in the U.S. Air Force Strategic Air Command, and he engaged in CIA intelligence operations in 20 European, Latin American, and African countries. So if this sounds familiar, someone who's in negotiation with the military or the FBI, you might be thinking of Mr. Chris Voss, who was the author of Never Split the Difference. Well, Mike Ackerman was referenced in his book. He was a mentor of sorts to Chris Voss. This is the same guy. Well, the Ackerman method is a standardized framework for negotiation. It simplifies the process and reduces stress and anxiety if you are the type, or especially if you are negotiating with someone else, a significant other, a husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, father or mother, etc. If you are negotiating together, this is a way to simplify that because it's a schedule of pricing concessions. So the Ackerman method mandates 3 offers, each of which will have an increasing or decreasing, depending on whether you're buying or selling. It works both ways. And you will increase or decrease this concession rate by 50%. You're going to make each offer half the size of the one preceding it. In this way, you'll be making it clear that your willingness to adjust your price at which you'll either buy or sell something is getting smaller and smaller over time until you arrive at your bottom line. So I know that's a lot. Let me break this down for you. So say you're interested in having a covered patio structure built in your backyard. And for simple math, we'll say your target price for this structure is $10,000. So if your preferred contractor agrees to $10,000, you, my friend, you'll be thrilled with this. So in negotiating with the contractor, the Ackerman method dictates your opening offer would be 65% of your $10,000 ideal price, or 35% off. So it's going to be $6,500. So what you want to spend, the max is 10 grand. Your opening offer would be 35% less of that, which would be $6,500. Now you say, I will buy this, my friend, for $6,500. And the contractor says, whoa, can't do that because we have this, high grade lumber. So you counter and you say, well, tell you what, I will increase my offer by 20% of your target price. So 20% of $10,000 is $2 grand. So you're going to jump from $6,500 to $8,500. So again, that was a 20% increase of your ideal price of 10 grand. Now this is important because the next one you're going to do, the next increase is going to be half of 20%, which is obviously 10%. So the contractor says no, but he does include 18 months of maintenance. So then you counter with an increase of 10%. Again, 10% of what? 10% of your ideal price, which is 10 grand. That is, right? That's $1,000. So you are going to jump your offer from $8,500 to $9,500. At this point, you can see the contractor is close to saying yes. So you close the deal by asking for a modest structure size increase of, say, 5%, add a foot here or there, right? While you're going to increase your final offer another 5%. 5% of what? 5% of your total ideal price of 10 grand. So you can see it goes from 20% increase, 10% increase, 5% increase. You are indicating that, hey man, the further this goes on, there's only so much money I am willing to increase my offer to. So an additional 5% of 10 grand is, that's right, $500. You go from 9,500 to 10 grand. So your contractor says yes, as you've come a long way from your opening offer of $6,500. You get the higher grade of lumber, you get 18 months of peace of mind, and you get a slightly larger structure, all for your ideal investment. Now, let's say you are the contractor hoping to get a $10,000 build. You would simply reverse the numbers while applying the same percentages. So you'd open at $13,500. You would decrease at 20% of your ideal price. Again, it's 10 grand. 20% of 10 grand is 2 grand. So you'd come down from 13.5 to 11.5, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. It's a schedule of pricing increases or decreases in the negotiation, but it's planned out ahead of time. Now, again, I realize walking through the math of this is hard without the visual. Therefore, we made a visual. Go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools and download this. You will see that we have a grid where we walk you through the math that I just talked about. And there's a couple blank templates. So one of you listeners right now, one of my dear friends who's listening, one of you is negotiating something on a home project. Use this, try it out. It may very well work for you. If nothing else, especially with you and a significant other, it'll simplify your game plan and you'll be on the same page going into the negotiation. So again, behindyourbacksales.com/tools. Now, the genius of the Ackerman method here and the pricing adjustment schedule is that while you are demonstrating adaptability and flexibility to find a mutually beneficial deal, you're saying, come on, Bill, work with me here. I've come all the way up from $6,500. The diminishing sizes of your counteroffers, they are marching steadily to zero. They tell a clear story to your negotiation partner. Bill, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. This is as far as I can go. What do you say? Let's build this thing. Let's do it together, right? So the Ackerman method, this pricing schedule can be laid out in advance and it can aid in the event that you or your partner start getting too emotional. All right, so there it is. Those are 2.5 ways you can use these negotiating techniques to be more effective in your personal life. And as you begin to use these more often, you have success and you save money, you could use those towards other meaningful things that you're working towards. You will then begin to use these automatically in your business life. It will become a negotiation habit. So again, what are those 2.5 ways? Number one, always separate material and labor. Number two, it's the 3-question script. Is this your best price? Are there any promotions or discounts going on right now that I should be made aware of? And number three, we're trying to save for my son's college education fund. Is there any other way you could potentially help us save on this investment? That's the second one. And then you've got the Ackerman method, which is a schedule of pricing concessions. Again, go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools and download this negotiation info, share it, and see if it works for you. All right. So to become a competent and confident sales professional, negotiation is a must. We must have it. And I can tell you from the candid admissions from so many people in our industry that we simply do not spend enough time teaching the fundamentals of effective negotiation. Well, we are going to do that from the first term going through the fourth term. We're going to continue to come back to effective negotiation. And again, not just in business, although that's critical. It's going to start in your personal life. That is going to be part of the OSR Academy. And some of the folks that have reached out have said, hey, well, spending $1,500 a month over 15 months, I'll do the math for you. That's $22,425. Seems pretty expensive to train a salesperson. And I will ask, when you train your salespeople and you cover all this information, how much does it cost you? And as you can imagine, the answer is most people don't train them like this. And we realize it is not an insignificant sum and it's not for everyone. However, I would challenge you, if you were going to build your own training program for sales in-house, do you think it's going to cost more or less than $22,000 per person? And are you going to have some of the industry's best experts involved to make sure you're successful? Another comment we got was, how do we make sure that we have a GM or sales manager buying in? And that's so critical. We've been calling this the golden hierarchy. We need an executive on board who is the one who's making the commitment, who's involved, who ultimately is writing that check. but we absolutely have to have that mid-management, the person who's overseeing the day-to-day work of the student to make sure that they're involved, they understand the progress, and they are helping this student move along to make sure we are all successful. And of course, making sure the student is effective in their day-to-day job. And then of course, you've got the student. So we need 3 layers in our application process and all the communication that we are going to have for these 24 students. It's only 24. It's going to be very small. It's very personal. And we on our end, we're hiring a full-time admin to make sure this is successful. And there is a lot of accountability and a lot of relationship building. So we want to make sure there's nothing lost in communication. All right, that's all we've got for today. If you have not listened to the last episode, we talk about the sales stack. That's critical. Talking about the sales process, sales activities, sales skills, and sales tools, how that is absolutely an important element you must have for high performance in sales. That's what we talked about in the last video. Yep, there's videos for all these on YouTube. And there's a downloadable PDF at behindyourbacksales.com/tools. And again, today we talked about negotiation. In the next podcast and video, we're going to be talking about what is so critical about the sales pipeline. How are we organizing, valuing, and sharing with sales leaders our pipeline, and then how we make forecasts. These are so critical and they rarely happen. But as we continue on in the future, we're in a cyclical business. Sooner or later, I think it's going to be 2024, we will be in a recessionary environment of some degree. And hopefully it's not a deep degree. But when that happens, managing an effective sales pipeline and organizing it, valuing it, and sharing it with our teams, what's our purchasing team, operations team, and of course our sales leadership is going to be so critical. That is what we are going to be talking about in the next episode. And again, we're going to give you free tools and frameworks to use immediately, even if the OSR Academy is not for you. So that's all we've got. I want to thank Capital One Trade Credit for their sponsorship. If you are interested in increasing cash flow, increasing revenue while decreasing risk, check out Capital One Trade Credit. That's all we've got for you today. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this has been helpful. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value.